This person never truly looked at you. They only saw what they wanted to see. They just compared. They measured. They tested limits as if you were replaceable. You felt it. Every gesture, every phrase, every sideways glance. You could tell when someone was only listening to you, waiting for their moment to talk about someone else. You stayed there, trying to understand why. Trying to do things differently. Trying to be more, trying to be less, trying anything that would stop that absurd comparison. But it didn't help. This person had already placed you in the just another category, even without saying it in words. You heard it, in the way they treated you, in the expectation that you would be like the others who had come and gone. And then you left, not out of weakness, but out of exhaustion. This person didn't understand it at first. They thought it was just a phase. They thought you would come back. They thought they had time to repeat the formula with someone else. They tried to replicate it. They tried to call another by the same name with the same gesture, in the same space. But it didn't work. Because what you gave was not replicable. Because who you were, they couldn't fit into molds. Because you didn't force yourself to be kind. You simply were. And in the silence of your absence, this person realized. The truth hit hard, as it always does when you lose what you thought was guaranteed. No other body brought your peace. No other company filled what you held in silence. No other name made sense after yours. This person realized it was never about finding someone better. It was about you being the only real one there, the only whole one, the only present one. Now you don't have to prove anything anymore. You don't have to go back, nor respond, nor give in, because what remained was too clear to be denied. And what you offered will never be felt the same way again. Those who lose are the ones who only realize it later. Those who compare regret. Those who measure end up empty. Have you ever experienced something like this? Share your thoughts in the comments. Or just write, "I needed to hear this." You noticed from the start it wasn't a lack of internal warning. Your body was signaling. Your gaze weighed heavy. The energy was splitting you in two. You were there, fully present, but being observed as if you were incomplete, compared to someone who hadn't even shared the same pain as you, compared to someone who only showed what was convenient, with someone who was easier to deal with, easier to manipulate, easier to let go, and then come back later as if nothing had happened. This person put you on a strange pedestal, in a place where you had to prove your worth all the time, while others only needed to smile, while others just had to show up for a moment and were already applauded. You were under constant pressure, demanded of, judged. Your way of loving was evaluated as if it could be measured by performance, and every attempt you made to be more real was seen as drama or a burden. You couldn't make a mistake, but every mistake from the other side was easily forgotten, as if they didn't matter at all, as if everything you offered needed adjustments, control, improvement. This person never recognized the depth of your commitment, or maybe they did, and ignored it, because those who lack the capacity to receive true love often treat as exaggeration what requires genuine presence. Yet, you gave yourself anyway, even while bleeding inside, even while feeling suspicious, even while sensing it wasn't fair. You stayed, not out of submission, but out of courage, courage to try a little harder, courage to bet where many would have walked away at the first blow. But it's no use giving the world to someone who only accepts crumbs. You were belittled. You were made to believe that the problem was you, that you were asking too much, that you expected what no one else expected. But now this person understands. Not with words, not with justifications. They understood in the emptiness left behind, in the absence of your care, in the absence of someone who looked deep within, in the absence of a love that didn't make noise, but supported everything inside. This person went in search of another version of you. They tried to find in another body what you offered freely. They tried to recreate the connection, to revive the feeling, but they couldn't, because what you are and cannot be replicated. You have layers that no one understands right off the bat. You have a way of being that only those who stayed long enough can absorb. You have an intensity that intimidates, and it's precisely this that's missed when it fades away. This person discovered this too late, because it wasn't the other who erred with her. It was her who couldn't recognize who had been there since the beginning. She tried to compare, and she lost, because nothing else was sufficient. No one else touched with the same depth. No one had your understanding. No one had your presence. No one had your truth. And then came the anguish, the silent guilt, the muted regret. You started to inhabit this person's thoughts, during the times when it used to be a routine to ignore you, in the gestures she repeated, hoping to feel the same thing, in the spaces where she tried to fit someone, and no one could. She compared you with others, and now she compares everyone to you, but it's too late. Because now you've changed. Now you see yourself differently. Now you understand that it wasn't an exaggeration, it was love. Deep, authentic, whole love. Love that doesn't come with a manual. Love that demands emotional maturity. And this person wasn't ready. You spent nights trying to understand where you went wrong, but the truth is that the mistake was never yours. This person didn't have the structure to receive what you offered. She was used to shallow relationships, to easy promises, to pretty speeches with no depth whatsoever. You were the opposite. You were raw truth. Love that cannot be taught. Presence that cannot be bought. This person confused intensity with pressure, confused clarity with exaggeration, confused depth with weight. And now, it carries a regret that no longer has a place to go, because you no longer fit in this space. You have rebuilt yourself. You learned to see yourself through different eyes, with a different voice, with a different value. And now it's this person who feels you without being able to touch you, who desires you without being able to call you, who sees you like never before now but can no longer reach you. Because when you truly leave, you don't come back. You've been compared to others, but now it's you who knows. There is no one else like you. If this has happened to you, comment, "I needed to hear this." Finish this sentence for me. Being compared by someone who never truly saw me was, have you been through this? Tell me in the comments, what was the first time you experienced something similar? Now listen, this story isn't over yet. There's one more part, a part that no one talks about, that almost no one has the courage to feel. This person realized too late, but the cruelest part of it all is that maybe you also only truly realized after you left. Because while you were living that, you thought it was normal to feel so little. You thought it was normal to walk in silence, to hold your tongue to avoid conflict, to accept crumbs and be grateful. You gradually shrank yourself. You became a shadow of yourself. You bent yourself to fit into places where you were never fully welcomed, all to avoid being called difficult, too intense, demanding, problematic. You silenced yourself to keep someone close, and in that silence, a part of you was dying inside. You recognize that now, don't you? The worst comparison you ever lived was not the one this person made with others. It was the one you started making with yourself. You compared yourself to what you thought you should be, to the version of you that would please others more, that would disturb less, that wouldn't be too much, but that version wasn't you. And now that you've stepped out of that, now that you see with clear eyes, now that the emotional dust has settled, you realize you were never too difficult. It was never too intense, it never asked too much. You only asked for what any whole soul deserves: presence, respect, alignment, emotional loyalty. You asked for consistency, and they gave you excuses. You asked for clarity, and they threw around vague phrases. You asked for reciprocity, and received comparisons. Now, the one who did all of this looks back with guilt, with longing, with shame. And maybe they'll never say this out loud, because not every regret has the courage to turn into an apology. But you feel it, you know it, you notice it. And most importantly, you no longer need validation from those who couldn't see you. You've already understood that your presence is valuable, that your silence teaches, that your absence educates, that you don't need to struggle to be unique. You already are. This person may spend their life trying to find what they lost. They might even find something similar, but they won't find the same, because you are the kind of person who doesn't return. And when you do come back, that you're not the same. You're a different version of you, more mature, more aware, more selective. This person will keep feeling, will keep remembering, will keep searching, but they will never find. And this is not punishment, it's consequence. You are gone, but you left a mark, an impact that no one else could fill, because your place was unique, and those who didn't understand that before and don't deserve it after. Now I ask you, are you ready to not be silent anymore, to not diminish yourself anymore, to not allow someone to put you on the shelf of anyone? You've already spent too much time where there was no room for your light. Now it's time to stand firm where you are seen without needing to shout. If this still lives within you, comment, "Now I recognize myself," and share this with someone who needs to wake up to the same truth. So listen, Because the next part isn't about the other. It's about you, about what happens when you know you shouldn't go back. But even so, in some quiet corner of your heart, you still consider it. Even knowing that it's already over, you still feel the urge to look back. Do you know why? Because those who truly love, even when hurt, still have a tendency to try one more time, even knowing there's no room left, even knowing that nothing will change. But now you need a different awareness, a kind of clarity that only comes after pain, after exhaustion, after the absence that rearranges everything inside. The truth is, going back to a place that tried to mold you is to betray yourself in silence. It's swallowing your own growth, it's cancelling out everything you've learned from falling. It's like opening the door to a prison after you've freed yourself. It doesn't matter how much this person claims to be sorry now. It doesn't matter how many posts they share, how many indirect messages they send, how many promises they make. What matters is, you had to leave to be noticed. And those who only recognize you when you step away aren't ready to keep you whole. This person might change, but it doesn't change how they treated you when you needed it most. It doesn't erase the fact that you suffered trying to be accepted. It doesn't change the pain of comparison, the pain of disdain disguised as honesty, the pain of being seen as overreacting when all you were was intense and loyal. And now, with all of this clear, going back would be an act of self-abandonment. And you've already abandoned yourself too much trying to be understood. You've stayed silent too often to avoid conflict. You've accepted crumbs for too long to keep someone who didn't see you. Going back now would be spitting on your own healing process. It would be telling your most wounded self, everything you endured was for nothing. And this you no longer deserve. You are no longer available for relationships that demand you to diminish yourself. You are no longer available for places where you need to be trained to be accepted. You are no longer willing to explain the basics. That true love doesn't compare, measure, or manipulate. You have changed, and those who truly change no longer fit into the same mold. Perhaps that person is still waiting for your return, waiting for you to falter, waiting for you to miss them, waiting for you to get confused once again by needs. But now you see, now you realize, now you feel the difference between nostalgia and relapse. Nostalgia is normal. You are human. You lived something intense. You gave yourself fully. You were sincere. But that doesn't mean you should go back. You can remember and still choose not to repeat. You can even love and still choose not to return. Because love that hurts, confuses, diminishes is not love. It is need dressed as attachment. You are no longer there. And no matter how much your heart misses, your conscience does not allow you to go back. And if that person comes after you, if they come with sweet words, with promises of change, with rehearsed lines, with speeches about regret, remember everything you went through in silence. Remember how it felt to sleep with a heavy heart. Remember how you begged to be understood and only heard criticism. Remember how you doubted yourself. And remember who you became after all of that. You are no longer the same, and now you should not go back. If this resonated with you so far, write in the comments, "This time I choose not to go back." Or respond to me, what was the moment you realized it was no longer worth insisting? So keep that in mind. With the silence that only those who have lived understand, with the resolve of someone who has returned too many times and now chooses not to return again. This person compared you to others. Today, none compare to you, and do you know why? Because now you recognize yourself, not the way others made you believe you should be, but the way you truly are, deep, rare, invaluable. Absence taught you more than any conversation, and what you carried within you now stands out without needing to prove anything. That person will keep searching, but they will never again find what you offered, because that won't happen again. That was you. And you? Now you belong to places that don't require you to shrink. Now you walk with the certainty that being seen is not a luxury, it's the bare minimum. If this resonated with you, leave a comment. Write down below what hurt you the most, or what set you free. Tell me, have you ever experienced something similar? And if this video revealed any truth to you, give it a like. Leave a thumbs up so I know it meant something to you. And most importantly, subscribe to the channel. Here we say what no one else has the courage to say. Here you'll never have to pretend you don't feel anymore. Share this with someone who's still comparing themselves, or who's still waiting to go back to a place that no longer exists. This conversation may have ended here, but what comes next goes even deeper. I'll see you in the next video. Click here and keep going with me.